Alright. We're live. Probably alive. A little late. To do multiple things. Thank you. Finally, the day comes when the teachers stop coming to the house. But before you can breathe a sigh of relief and put away the book, excuse me, Father asks you to come to his study. You've grown, my son. It's time for you to continue your education away from home. I've chosen a deserving school for you, Sir Tibor's school for the children of noblemen and well-off commoners. Naturally, it's not a boarding school for nobles. You will study there during the day and come home in the evening. You share the news with your best friend Thomas. Sir Tibor's, eh? Yeah, I gotta ask my parents to send me there too as soon as they get the coin together. Father says his workshop has toiled day and night for years to save up for my education. The school is based in an ancient estate of Arcanian design. Classrooms are tall and spacious, with massive benches. The sounds of scraping quills and lectures on history and imperial law and theology echo under the vaulted ceilings. The rules are strict, lessons tiring. Restless Thomas keeps getting distracted, and several times he gets his hand slapped with a stick for it. Every teacher demands flawless mastery of their subject. Every day, Father asks you about your studies. You've already told him twice how Magda joined the Empire and how the Noble's Court of Honor is different from the Commoner's Civil Court in the city prefecture. But Father keeps pressuring you to work even harder. When it is time to go to bed, Mother will not let you go to sleep until you recite a newly learned prayer for her. And when it is time to go to school, you will promise her every day that you will behave with great humility and steer clear of insolent behavior of any kind. But you still live by the commoner's lot, and that lot is hard work and suffering. Your first month in school draws to a close, and the teachers announce that there will be exams at the end of the month to determine the best and worst students in each subject. Father insists that you devote all your spare time to studying law and history if you wish to follow in his footsteps. But when you speak to Mother every day, you start considering theology. You still remember the revelations and divine visions that came to you in your earliest years. You have only one more day until the exam. You've locked yourself away in your room. It is already getting late. Your desk is covered with handwritten notes surrounded by leather-bound books. Just looking at them makes you queasy. You have to read through all of them again, at least for one of your subjects. There's a nagging thought on your mind. Thomas ended up in big trouble the other day. He got in a fight with several boys who live next street. They heard about your wooden fortress and got in an outrage by the fortifications built by commoners. They swore to dismantle it tonight. Thomas swore he would defend the fortress until the end. Perhaps you should abandon the books to rescue the friend in need. But then you hear your little brother Nathan knocking at the door. He stands there shyly, not saying a word. He often does that, standing still and staying speechless until either you speak first or he runs away. This time he actually said something. The door is locked. Are you okay, Leon? Is there anything I can do to help? Your head is spinning. This is the last evening before the school exam. If you fail, your family will be very disappointed. You have to refresh your memory on law or theology, either one or the other. Thomas and your fort are about to be stormed. Why today of all days? You grind your teeth in rage at the thought. Nathan's by the door trying not to bother you. He wants to help you the only way he can, for reasons known only to him. Will you accept his help? So I kind of missed out on a lot of the noble stuff. Thomas is nice and all. Nathan's a good brother. But if I went out of the commoner's lot, I got two choices for that. And having missed so much of this, I think I'll do theology. You push Nathan out of the room. He cannot possibly help you prepare for the exam. No matter the way you delve into the books on theology, your mind is awash with the names of saints and zealots and concepts of the divine. Your studies tire you out so much that you fall asleep among the books until Mother wakes you up gently and sends you off to bed. Come morning, you barely have the time to wake up before you are walking to the menacing edifice of the school. The entire day is a constant stream of school subjects demanding knowledge, questions demanding answers. You demonstrate satisfactory knowledge of law and history, though you are somewhat confused by the technicalities in chronological order. Feels like the day will never end, but the end does come at last, the Theology Exam. As luck would have it, it is the final exam of the day. The teacher, a priest, starts asking you questions. Surprising even yourself, you provide coherent answers for all of them. You quote eminent theologians on why and how the lot of the clergy is to provide spiritual guidance to the other estates. When the questions require examples, you quote prayers and lives of saints you have read with Mother. You're in the highest grade on this exam. Back home, you are overjoyed to tell Mother how you aced the theology exam. She pats you on the head gently and says you should tell Father how you did in history and law. Trying. I don't want to be stuck in the columnar slot. Your education continues. As you study imperial law, you come to realize there is a certain hierarchy even within the noble estate. It seems your father's status is not quite equal to that of the more eminent human and Arcanian gentry. You return home with this new information at your disposal. Father asks you about school after dinner, as he always does. And what is the difference between nobles of the mantle and those of the sword, Leon? You already have an answer ready. The latter's status is hereditary, meaning that it is passed down from father to son. After the Arcanians, nobles of the sword are the most eminent humans in the Empire. They own land and estates. They fill offices of the highest ranks, and the names of the bloodlines are preserved within the Great Blue Book. Nobility of the sword can be granted only by the overseer of the province or the emperor himself. And how are such eminent people addressed? With the honorific L before their last name, you respond. Sir Augustin L. Bourne, for example. Father pats you on the shoulder, clearly pleased. And what about the Arcanians and their status? What have you learned about them? The Arcanians stand above all human gentry. They are born to rule over humans, regardless of their titles. No L is required when addressing them. They need no honorifics, for the names of their ancient dynasties are known to all. Father nods somberly. Yes, we can never be their equals. Do whatever an Arcanian tells you and never defy them. Ever. What about grandfather and me? Where do we stand as nobles? That is easy. Father and grandfather are nobles of the mantle. This title cannot be inherited, but it can be earned by any commoner as a reward for great service to the Empire and the Legion, or as a civil servant. Father suddenly grows quiet and looks you in the eye intently. Yes, and someday you will earn a noble title too, son. All in due time. Sir Tiber's school teaches children of all stripes. Nobles of the mantle and low-born parents can send their sons here, and every passing day the children of noblemen invent new ways to snub and bully the commoners. Most of the time the bully leading them is Diedrich, the son of the secretary for the Imperial Chancellery, and a self-important slob. The sons of noblemen never pick on you, however. They know that your father has been a noble by the mantle. However, Diedrich and his retinue soon choose Thomas as their favorite victim. Time and time again, you ask your friend not to pay them any mind. But again and again, Thomas grows angry and snaps at their self-satisfied mockery. It is early morning. The students are busy, flocking to the classroom for the next lesson. Leave Thomas over when you see him. He is back at you, and then a bucket full of slop splashes on him. Needless to say, is the work of Diedrich and his entourage. You hear his familiar creaky laughter. The tailor's son stinks. How dare he sit next to decent folk? Thomas clenches his fist. You're dead, Diedrich. He throws himself at Diedrich's haughty entourage like a soldier ready to wage war. He attacks them first. This is just what they expected, and they are free to retaliate. He barely makes one movement before 4 pairs of hands grab him at once. Diedrich sneers and kicks your friend in the belly. Thomas gasps for air and starts coughing. You stand between them as Diedrich readies another kick. The nobleman's son cocks an eyebrow. Why do you mingle with commoners? He asks. Your father is a noble of the mantle. You ought to be friends with your own kind. Your equal is not the dirt beneath your feet. Jeez. Behind him, 4 boys hold Thomas down as he struggles furiously. The other students are watching him, frozen in fear. Diedrich haughtily extends a hand to you. He clearly expects you to shake it. What will you do? I should not do this. Even if it does befit the family. I didn't ever learn to use a weapon. This will probably just get Thomas in trouble. You make a speech, not to the lead bully himself, but rather to his retinue. How come Diedrich sees himself fit to instigate fights? His family may be higher in rank, but like everyone else here, he has yet to take the nobleman's sacrament himself. The nobleman's lot is not yet his, so he is not yet fit to rule or to fight or rule, nor any of you. The twin gods are ever watching over us, you add, and they are ever vigilant. Do you dare to defy their will? Deirdre tries to retort. They've broken no laws, he says. All they've done is teach commoners the meaning of suffering. Call upon the knowledge gained from your theology lessons and easily pick his argument apart. Every man's first duty is to follow his lot, and Deirdre and his friends lack the humility to accept that they are not yet true nobles. Hands holding Thomas down grow weak. There is a whisper among the students around you. You're right, the twins are always watching how we follow the lots. Deirdre's retinue quickly dissolves in embarrassment. He furiously orders them to come back and join his cause, but his exhortations are all in vain. The other boys are clearly impressed by your words. The noble children will think twice before acting out again. I didn't expect that to give me a whole theology thing, but I will take it. If I'm honest, I kind of expected I'd get beat up. Not that I want it to be, but that's kind of what I expected there. Your theology teachers tell you more about Enizote. It is more than just the provincial capital. It is also a sacred place blessed by the gods. It is where the twin gods' first disciples spilled their blood, and from that blood grew the sacred silver tree. Its enormous foliage hangs over the city. You see its branches in the sky every day, but you've never approached the trunk of the tree yourself. Today you will. I know, it's not right, but I'm going to read it as it is. Today you be taking your first trip to the silver tree. Your class is visiting a service in the great temple by the tree's very roots. Thanks to your theology teacher, you and the other students will witness this landmark of the twins' advent up close. Everybody's excited. Soon you and the other boys enter the slums surrounding the church district of Enizote. The roots are pulsating under your feet. They spread underground and all throughout the area. Pathetic, cramped hovels and filthy streets surround the trunk of the tree. They are home to paupers, day laborers, and preachers. The people of the district bow humbly to you and point you toward the temple. They seem at peace despite their abject poverty in which they live. All who live directly beneath the tree are filled with His divine grace, your teacher says. People come here to make peace with the world and their fate in it. Your class is unusually quiet. Everyone is listening to the rustling of the leaves and the underground beating of the roots. The sky above you is obscured by the tree's canopy. You find the temple of the twin gods. Right, my voice is going again. You find the temple of the twin gods right next to the tremendous trunk of the tree. It almost seems a part of it. There's a crowd there. Pilgrims dressed in traveling clothes, paupers and beggars, common people of the city, and the occasional well-dressed noble. There are arguments among some people who are gathered in separate small groups. Many are wandering around, staring upward at the tree's branches. The tree impresses you with its might and the calm emanating from it. You are filled with a desire to sit down and think of the world, learn something about yourself, to touch the silver-white bark and hearken to the whispering leaves. You are distracted enough to fall back from the rest of your classmates. You notice a small path that should take you right next to the trunk. A tall, red-haired woman walks out of the crowd of pilgrims. She's wearing a worn white robe. She is no longer young, but her face is youthful and covered in freckles. Her hands clutch a book. You have never seen this lady pilgrim before, yet she looks at you almost as if she has recognized a lifelong friend. She beckons to you and says her name, Mathilde, a preacher from Astynia. What she says next shakes you to your very core. It is commendable to see a young man so keen to learn the teachings of the twins, she says. Yet you will never follow the light of truth within the walls of the temple. Inside you will find only the lies about the lots, the erring words of prophet Asadius sanctified by the passage of centuries. Yet anyone who sets out to read the accounts of the twins' own lives knows that they never so much as mentioned the lots. The red-haired preacher's words frighten you. They clash with everything you have heard from Mother, everything you have been taught at school. The lots are a lie? You freeze in fear. Should you argue with Mathilde or ask her for more information? Or should you treat her as a madwoman and catch up with the rest of your classmates? You suddenly feel a small, warm hand grasp your own. You see a girl right next to you. She is just a little older than you, wearing a black dress that threadbare, yet almost spotless. Her hair is covered by a handkerchief, with only a single golden lock showing. This picture does not quite capture that. Her brown eyes are burning with rage, her hand pulling you away from the red-haired preacher. You stare in confusion at the strange young girl, your cheeks flushed by the sudden touch. There's just a bit of color on her cheeks too, but then she starts speaking to you quickly. Don't listen to her. She's dangerous. Come to the temple with me. Only there will you see the truth. Stand there, surrounded by the crowd of praying pilgrims and the sounds of shuffling feet, torn between two people you've never seen before. And each of them expects you to follow her, but all the while you hear the whispering of the wind in the tree's branches. The branches reach out for you almost as if the tree wishes to speak to you itself. Can you hear its voice? No, I didn't play with bugs alone as a child. I'm going to lose my willpower, but I'll go with her. Turn your back on the suspicious preacher and follow the girl inside. She introduces herself to you along the way. Her name is Jean. The temple is filled with light. It is separated into two halves, just like the temple in your district. One for the commoners and one for the nobles, yet this temple is far more grand than that one. You see two towering statues by the altar, carved with impeccable detail. They depict the twins. The elder bears an empathetic smile, and the younger has a stern look about him. They are depicted in their garments of pilgrims, frozen in their eternal journey to meet one another. My uncle is one of the priests in this temple. I'm an acolyte. I work in the temple. I help him clean the temple and cook food for the poor. And I also greet the worshippers. People come here all the time. Many are lost and they don't know where to go once they're inside. But nobody should feel lost in this place. The temple is for all the estates. Jean's face is no longer angry. The red-haired preacher is long forgotten. She's like a warm ray of light under the roof of the grand, bright temple. Ask her a question. Is she happy in her service to the twins? Of course I am. This is where I belong, inside the temple. I feel the twins watching over me all the time. When I'm with them, I'm never afraid, never sad. She looks at the statues when she mentions the twins and smiles at them as if they are close friends. Do you feel it too? You too turn your eyes to face the twin gods. Feel the eyes of the elder upon you. They feel warm, warm like mother's loving words. You feel virtue and order in the eyes of the younger. They feel like father's words of pride and respect. I knew it. You could feel it. It's so easy when you're in the temple, but they watch over us all the time, you know. Just pray from your heart and remember how it feels all the time, even back home, even on a long, long journey. Jean's voice is clear and insistent. As you listen to her, you just barely touch the palm of your hand and that held hers a moment ago. Maybe it's just a delusion, but that hand feels warmer now. You keep looking back at the tree all the way home, but it's not the tree you see. You see Jean's brown eyes, filled with inscrutable wisdom. Goodbye, willpower. That's gonna mess me up eventually. Another day has ended. You're making your way home, still mulling over the things you've learned from your teachers. The founding of the Empire, the eternal and unshakable rule of a single dynasty. The 3 estates, each with its own rights. What an odd sort of order the world has, and yet so mysterious. At least it sounds that way when your teachers talk about it. Mother is waiting for you on the porch. She smiles gently when she sees you, and yet her expression still shows great concern. Father left on a trip to several distant Malgren towns a few days ago. Since then, Mother has been trying to tell you something, but she seems uncertain. Son, could you put your things away and come pray with me? You join Mother in a prayer to the twins. She prays with fervent sincerity, her head bowed low, reciting the words of obedience to them, and their greater design in a barely audible whisper. You repeat after her, just as she taught you ever since you were a little boy. When the prayer ends, Mother sighs and turns to you. Leon, my son, you are 13 now. You'll be grown soon. It's time you learned about certain things that are important to our family. Difficult things. It's about your father and me, about our marriage. You gaze curiously into Mother's eyes. I'm sure you've wondered about this before. Your father's a nobleman of the mantle, so how could he marry a commoner with another man's child? But you see, Leon, your father, when his first wife, Amalia Elborn, died, it was a painful blow to him. He lost the will to live, lost all purpose. He felt like his own destiny was cut short that day as well. And then he met me. You know the troubles I had in the past. I went to the prefecture as a petitioner to ask them for help, protection, justice. When I was a young girl, I worked at a small shop that sold crockery and dishes. A nobleman took a liking to me, may his name be forever forgotten. Twins know I was humble and honored his lot to rule, but he took me by force. Mother falls silent, summoning the courage to continue. Gloria is that nobleman's daughter, but he was outraged. How could I have the gall to burden him with low-born progeny? He turned me out on the street with that little baby girl in my arms. Mother's voice is shaking now. You take her hand tenderly. I had no home, no honor, nowhere to go, no one to help me. When I went to the prefecture, I didn't really think the judges there would help me find justice against my former master. But when Sir Robert heard my plea, his eyes met mine, and I believe that, at the very moment, the twins themselves granted him the gift of their love. Your father told me that there was nothing he could do to make that detestable nobleman marry me, but he would never abandon me and baby Gloria. If I agreed, he would take me into his own home. Tears are running down Mother's cheeks. And I knew it. My son, I knew how much his honor and reputation would suffer. But caring for me brought him back to life. It's like he experienced another sacrament. He rediscovered his noble purpose, his lot to rule and protect and care for others. But his decision to marry me, he is still paying for it today. Your father had the courage to defy your grandfather, the founder of his bloodline. If only he knew how much he had to endure, my son. If only he knew the despicable rumors we heard about the Brantes all over and Azote. It was only thanks to the efforts of Sir Gregor that the Brante bloodline managed to hang on to what little remained of its reputation. And now the noble families have all but forgotten about that scandal, thank the twins. Mother falls silent. She looks at you intently. Do you understand what she's telling you? My son, I'm not telling you this just to share the pain of my past. I have no reason to complain. Even Sir Gregor has accepted me through gritted teeth. But you need to understand the heavy burden our family must bear, including our scandalous marriage and Gloria's foul origin. And Gloria, she can never be a Brante. Even if the elder Brantes agreed, the news would stir up the old scandal in the minds of high society. If that were to happen, Leon, it would see even your birth as illegitimate. Mother sighs heavily. What I told you just now is something you have to know, my son. You are about to enter adult life. By my lot, I must be humble. I cannot tell you how to treat your family. But may I ask you a question, now that you know all of this? Do you still see Gloria as your sister? Of course I do. Filled with determination, you assure Mother that Gloria is and will always be your sister. You want Gloria to be a Brante too. You want her to be a part of your family. Who cares what the nobles of Andes ought to say? Mother beams with quiet joy when she hears this. Oh, Leon, if only you knew how happy that would make me, to have our family united at last. However, the joy on her face quickly gives way to concern. But I already owe good Sir Robert a debt I can never repay. He's given my daughter so much. A home, an education, his care and advice. The Brante bloodline could suffer so much from Gloria's existence. We should all just learn to accept her status as it is. Just then you hear Gloria carefully knock at the door of Mother's chamber. Mother, Leon, I couldn't find you. You happily greet your sister. Yes, she is your sister. No old secrets can ever change that. Mother gives you and Gloria a kiss on the forehead and returns to her prayers. You and your sister walk downstairs together. Mother is alone by her bedside now, thanking the twins with a quiet prayer for the Brante family they have given her. You hope they can hear her. No? Game? Thank you. Sad music was getting to me. You're 13 now. Another theology lesson. Today's sermon is about the priests and why the clergy is only one of the three estates with the right to interpret the lots and guide the other two estates accordingly. Thomas sits next to you, huffing and puffing as he fervently writes down the teacher's every word. But you've heard all this from Mother many times before, so you take this moment to daydream a little. Father promises to take you to the capital once your studies are complete. But the teacher suddenly casts a stern look around the lecture hall and raises his voice at one of your classmates. A boy by the name of Brian jumps out of his seat. The teacher asks him to repeat what he had just said. Brian freezes and seems to shrink. He tries to muster a reply, but nothing comes out. Class becomes agitated. Someone's about to get punished. The teacher now looms over Brian. The boy's cheeks are flushed and his eyes are covered in sharp tears. Oh no. You all watch the teacher's iron-bound book as he raises it sharply about to strike. Brian shrieks and raises a hand in front of him. A sudden flash. The teacher screams and buries his face in his arms. His hair is ablaze and his skin is covered in horrible burns. It's magic. Real magic. Just like in the books about the Magra Rebellion. The class freezes in shock. There's dull thud as the iron-bound book falls to the floor. Brian's hysterical laughter rends the silence. He stands up from his bench, fire in his eyes and sparks on his fingertips. There are screams now. Students run for the door. The teacher tries to extinguish his burning hair. Brian snaps his fingers and the books of Assailants on the desk turn into pillars of flame. He laughs and raises his arms and the curtains catch fire. The screams grow louder and the fire howls. Brian's face is tense and violent. His mouth is spewing flames and his whole body is shaking with laughter. He steps towards the door. You and Thomas glance at each other. He's going to burn the whole school down. Your friend's determination makes you brave. You run behind Brian and knock him off his feet. You both tumble to the floor. Even though his clothes, his body sears your flesh. Brian screams, convulses, and grabs Thomas by the shoulders with his burning hands. Thomas howls but stays put, then knocks Brian senseless with several fierce blows to the head. There are servants fussing around the room now. They put out the fire and take away the teacher, his body covered in horrible burns. You and Thomas remain next to Brian, who is lying on the floor silent. Soon 3 men in black cloaks enter the doors of the school, each bearing an edict sealed with silver. The Inquisition. You and Thomas are told to step away from the witch. They lock Brian's neck in a silver collar and take him away. One of the Inquisitors remains behind to tell the students what happened. That was magic, he explains. The ungodly power that twists the minds of men into savage instruments of murder. Only the sacred shackles of silver can hold it at bay. Only the power of the twins can save us all from its evil grasp. The next day you were forbidden from ever mentioning Brian's name again. He is no more. The nobleman's lot. A great day looms ahead. 100 years ago, Uther Tempest was anointed to rule over the empire, blessed by the twins themselves. The emperor's reign continues into its 2nd century. Celebrations in honor of the Tempest dynasty are held throughout the city, and the school is closed for 2 weeks because of that. On one of these evenings, Father tells everyone that Grandfather is going to bring Stefan back home for the holiday. They say families should celebrate the day of anointment together. You could benefit from your elder brother's company with his noble education. Stefan might be able to teach you how noblemen are supposed to act. Soon Stefan arrives. He now handles himself differently when it comes to ordering servants around and ignoring Gloria. He's still Grandfather's double, but he's more grown up now and far less haughty to you. It's a dark winter evening. A damp, cold wind sweeps through the city from the barren lands of Magra. You and Stefan are sitting in the library. He is telling you all about Eterna, the capital of the empire. It is full of so many wonders. The Imperial Palace, the enormous Temple of the Twins, the Military Academy, the Imperial College. You have read so much about these places. You have seen them firsthand. Nathan enters the library. He looks concerned. I can't find Gloria. I looked everywhere. She's not in the attic, not in the sitting room, not in the kitchen. I heard she wanted to sneak off to the rooms of Charmelondis palace. She could be lost in there. You and Stefan exchange looks. Charmelondis, the rebellious duke. The ruins of his palace are a dangerous place. Some children claim his tainted magic still lingers there, which means you absolutely have to make your way there and back again to prove you are not afraid of the long-dead witch. Your brother tells you to wait. He leaves and soon returns with his sword in its sheath. How did I do his voice? Get ready, Leon. We're going to rescue Gloria. She must have gone to the ruins in search of inspiration for another one of her little rhymes. You've even struck Nathan to tell your parents you've gone for a walk in the square. You and your elder brother head outside. You're confused by Stefan's action. You refuse to treat Gloria like a human being, so why is he still so determined to rescue her? Stefan notices your expression. Are you wondering why I care about Gloria all of a sudden? I can't act in any other way, can I? The law of honor compels me to protect my family. Gloria will never be a Brante, but Father still took her into our house. I must respect his seniority and defend Gloria like she is one of our own. You're a Brante too, noble or not, which means it's your duty to aid me. The ruins of Charmelondis' palace span an entire district. The palace was abandoned centuries ago, and its remnants are overgrown with thick underbrush. The ruined palace is empty, nothing but cold wind blowing over crumbling brickwork. Even the worst scum of the land steer clear of this place. You make your way through the ruins until you spot scattered sheets of paper covered in writing. Your sister's writing. You hear loud laughter coming from behind a dilapidated stone wall nearby. You pull yourself up to peer over it. Gloria is laying on the ground, face down, twitching and sobbing. A gaggle of drunk young thugs surround her, cackling and swinging their arms about. You hear their shouts. Look at the lass, sitting there, rhyming words together. She thinks she's all noble, but you don't you worry, you low-born turret. We're gonna teach you your place. One of the louts spits at Gloria as she lies there. Get away from her this instant, you bastards, or I'll spill your guts. They respond with mocking laughter. Stefan draws his sword. The street thugs recoil in fear, but they soon notice that he is only one-armed man against many. They start reaching out for sticks and stones. Stand by my side. Don't let them flank me. Oh, I can't follow orders? Well, that's a problem. Stefan's hand shakes, but he looks ready for battle. He's outnumbered for a moment. You hesitate. Perhaps it might be better to run for the nearby district and call for guards. The young thugs are already armed with makeshift weapons, and they start approaching you and Stefan cautiously. Louts try to flank Stefan and surround him. Your brother's sword thrusts and feints methodically, like in a training bout. The thugs keep dodging and jumping away. They manage to stay safe so far. Things continue like this. Soon one of them will flank Stefan, kick the sword out of his hand and bring him down. The ruffians are paying no attention to you, however. For a moment, you want nothing more than to run away. You belong to the common law. You're not allowed to bear arms, not allowed to fight. Then you take one more look at Stefan, who's almost surrounded, and at Gloria sprawled out on the ground. I can't act in any other way, can I? Your brother's words ring in your ears. You cannot run. You have to help him, no matter what. You pull a heavy rock out of the old wall. The toe-headed leader of the gang appears behind Stefan's back, ready to knock him down. No time to think. Takes you 3 steps to get to the foe. No time to think. You bash the thug in the head with the rock. The wretch stumbles and falls down. Stefan seizes an opportunity to strike and lunges at the louts. They scatter under his blows. Your screams and the swishing of the sword. You salt them too, swinging away with the heavy rock, till you catch something pointy in the side. A wave of pain washes over you. Blood starts flowing down your side and onto your leg. Stefan shouts something, but your mind is already fading fast. When the darkness disperses, you find yourself lying in your bed. Stefan is in an armchair next to you, reading a book. He's alive, with left arm in a sling and a black eye, but still alive. As for you, it hurts so much when you try to breathe, you cannot help but moan quietly. Stefan looks up from the book. Don't try to get up. You lost a lot of blood. Fortunately, the Archduke's guards got there too late to see you swinging that boulder around. They'd have shown you no mercy otherwise. But I'm impressed, Leon. You were unarmed, but you still fought them. You acted in defiance of your lot, that much is certain. But you fought for our family's honor. You know, brother, the nobleman's lot is also a great burden that few are able to bear. It takes courage not to fight everything you see, but to do your duty. Each and every decision a nobleman makes becomes a part of his family's legacy, flowing in the blood tide forever. I think about it often. A noble mustn't act weak. A noble mustn't suffer like the people of the low-born lot. A noble must rule over them wisely. A noble must ensure that they have work to do. It's not merely your own lot you have to look after. You have to ensure that 1,000 others can live by their lot as well. And there are so many more matters to take care of. Honor, dignity, tradition. It's tough, but it's what it takes to be a nobleman. Do you understand what I'm talking about? For the first time in a long while, your brother looks at you as an equal. It was a pleasure to fight side by side. I'm glad you and I are brothers. Oh, well, good. Trial of the Assailants. Before long, the entire city hears how a gang of low-born thugs assaulted Stefan Brante. Grandfather ensures that the brash young men are found. Some of them are taken into custody as soon as lesser death releases them. Grandfather seeks vengeance on those who hurt his favorite grandson. Prefect Delborn, a friend of your family, promises to personally oversee the trial and ensure that justice is served. Stefan and Grandfather decide to stay in Enozote until the trial ends. Grandfather demands true death for every single assailant. He asks Father to explain something. How can a legal court sentence criminals to true death? How can worldly judgment overrule the twins' law? Your words are true, my son. Their law is second to none. Yet the twin gods also made the empire in all its ways. The court of law exists to execute the laws of heaven here in the world. Should the court of law sentence a person to death, the law high above will always enforce it. And so every execution brings true death. The commoners who assaulted Stefan, a born noble, have committed a grave offense. There is no doubt about that. And yet, according to the Emperor's decree, even commoners have the right to defend themselves when they are about to face true death. This means that all of us will have to appear at the trial and testify before the court. Evening comes. Gloria visits your room. She looks crestfallen, and her fingers keep reaching for her long hair. Put away your schoolbooks and ask what is bothering her. The trial is tomorrow. Thought I was going to appear there too as an eyewitness. After all, this whole mess started because of me, but Sir Robert isn't even going to mention that I was there. Can you imagine? He says it would ruin the case. Why am I always in the way? Nobody mentions me. Nobody has to listen to me. It's like I don't exist. And I thought Stefan standing up for me finally meant something. Maybe I will become part of the family. But no, everything is back to usual now. Gloria tries her best to hold back the tears. You do your best to comfort her. Father just needs to keep the family out of trouble. If Sir Robert believes that I only bring trouble, why did he took me into the house at all? Gloria runs away. You return to your books, but you can't help but get lost in thought. What if they told the court that you weren't there either? How would you feel then? There's a knock at the door. It is Father. He closes the door behind him and sits next to you. There's an exhausted look about him. Son, tomorrow you will be testifying before the court tomorrow. Please remember what I'm about to tell you. Gloria wasn't at the ruin at all. You went there with your brother to inspect this historic site. The low-born men insulted Stefan first, and then attacked him. Stefan had managed to deal with the assailants on his own by the time the guards intervened. Gloria will cast suspicion on the case if we mention her existence to the court. The reputation of the family will suffer. Grandfather will never forgive me if that happens. Do not let me down. We are all counting on you. Recall the night of the fight like it was a moment ago. Gloria sprawled under the feet of those cackling thugs. Her poetry, her greatest treasure, scattered on the ground. She thinks she's a noble. Those were the words they spat down at her. But doesn't Grandfather mean the same thing when he denies that she's part of the family? But if you do what Father tells you, the trial will end quickly. Those commoners will face true death for assaulting a noble. If you mention Gloria, things will get complicated, and you cannot predict how the trial will end. It's more important to you, what is right or what is just. Well, I'm not gonna lie to him. If I could have convinced him, I would have. Sorry, Gloria. You're not in agreement. You'll follow the family's plan for the trial to the letter. A faint smile appears on Father's fatigued face. Thank you, son. This is an important case for our family, and for me as well. I appreciate your support. The day comes. The trial takes place in the lesser hall of the city prefecture. Sir Elborn himself presides as the judge. You are seated next to Father and Stefan. You testify to the court one after another. You echo your brother's testimony to the letter. The young commoners insulted you as you were both walking by the ruins, then they assaulted you. Stefan defended you. The lives of the 4 thugs are forfeit. Sir Elborn rises to deliver the sentence. The court of Anobility judges you guilty of assaulting Stefan Brante, a nobleman. All 4 defendants are sentenced to true death by hanging. There is no wind, but you feel a gust sweep through the hall. The defendants turn pale. Their mothers are bawling and crying. Everybody in the court feels the dreadful power of the law, and it is stern and just. That very power has been invoked by this sentence, and by that very sentence, the lives of the 4 young men are literally forfeit for all eternity. The gallows await. Stefan and Father stand in the front row. The wood creaks. The trap doors open under the young men's feet. They dangle in the air, reaching out for support with their feet in their final moments. Father lets out an inaudible sigh of relief. It is all over now. When Gloria comes back home the day after, she refuses to eat dinner and locks herself in her room. Before she leaves, however, you notice a scratch on her face and her hair is disheveled. You go to her room and knock at the door, but she will not open. And she finally replies, she's already gone to bed, and you should leave. Did you do the right thing during the trial? Your sister is still being bullied. No one knows she has a family to defend her, and Gloria does not want to be defended now. Those 4 commoners saw no mercy. Their lives ended for assaulting a nobleman. What did you seek to prove with this, and to whom? Was it worth it in the end? I don't know. Probably not worth it. But we're actually gonna call that here for now. Just stuff that happened before and stuff that's about to happen. I unfortunately have to stop. But we will be back tomorrow with I just messed something up. Okay. We will be back tomorrow at our usual time with the captain. Yes, the captain. So look forward to that. But for now, farewell.